Welcome to today's follow-along class, which is an introduction to one-arm handstands. Who is this class for, or what are the prerequisites? So ideally, your two-arm handstand is pretty solid. The more consistent you are with that, the more prepared you are for one-arms. What does that mean? So can you kick up in the middle of the room and hold a 60-second handstand, straight handstand, fairly consistent? Also, can you move through different shapes with ease? Can you go from straight to straddle to diamond to tuck without too much of an effort? That just shows that your two-arm balance is solid and you don't have to worry about that too much anymore because you're narrowing the base of support from two-arm to one-arm. So if you're already struggling with two arms, of course a one-arm can get pretty difficult. Also in terms of strength, if you have a solid tuck, what does that mean? Solid tuck, keeping the shoulders over the wrists, can sort of keep the spinal flexion, posterior tilt, shows me that you have a decent elevation that is required for holding a one arm. Not essential, but if you have a straddle press to handstand, great. It just shows that you have fairly decent pushing strength, but not a necessity. Other than that, like if you're not there yet, it's okay. You can still follow along today and see how you go. We do quite a lot of drills on the wall as well, and it's more of a conditioning, strengthening maybe for you, rather than just finding the position and balancing on one arm, etc. As it's just an introduction. So let's get started with a wrist warm-up. So you can come onto the ground if you're not there yet, and then just walk your hands around. Just feeling the floor, feel the condition of your wrists. Make sure you do expose your wrists at all the angles, the back of your hands on the floor, shoulders in internal rotation, shoulders in external rotation. And if you feel like there's one place that needs a little bit more time there, then feel free to just stay. That might be completely different on any given day. But then from here, external rotation through the shoulders, push the crease of the elbows forward, round your spine, tuck tailbone in, lean the hips back, and then actively push the crease of the elbows forward. From there, push fingers into the floor and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shoulders over the wrists. Then we're going to flip the hands, so the back of your hand is on the ground, fingers facing you, and then you again go into external rotation through the shoulder. Feel the triceps switching on, crease of the elbows pointing forward, round spine, tailbone tucked in, and lean the hips back. And then just gently rock from side to side. We're exposing the wrists into extension, into flexion. We're making a bit more mobile, but also strong. Then you can stop here, shoulders forward, elbows to the side, roll back onto your hands. Hands directly under the shoulders, round spine again, and then just gently rock the shoulders back and forth. Whenever the shoulders are in front of the fingertips, push the fingers into the floor to push the shoulders back. So we are activating the hands already rather than just moving the shoulders. A little bit of a plunge lean, meaning your wrists are getting more load. Next time when the shoulders are in the front of the fingers, lean slightly further forward than what you're used to. Tuck tailbone in, keep the protraction, create space in between the shoulder blades, then push your fingers into the floor. Hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, then push all the way back. Then make fists facing each other, open into so-called fin, palms facing up. Then close again and open, close again and open. When you go through that motion, keep the elbows straight. So when you open, you don't want to bend the elbow. Keep them nice and straight. Control the motion up and down. Next time when the hands are in the fin position, stay. Lean the shoulders slightly forward, bend into the elbows, try to get the chest towards the hands rather than the face. So slight lean forward. and extend again. Lean forward and down. Some fin push-ups, making those wrists nice and strong. And then get the hands back under the shoulders. From here, we're going to go through some first knuckle raises or heel raises. Shoulders stay stacked over the wrists or the knuckles. Press the knuckles of your index fingers firmly into the ground. Flex the spine and then lift the palms off the ground, lowering the palms back onto the ground. You do not want to rock back and forth, so you want to keep the slight lean forward and your shoulders travel up and down. Your elbows stay straight. You stay in a protracted scapula, upper back rounded, tailbone tucked in. You should feel your forearms working really hard in that position. I'm going to go a little bit faster for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then from there, let's just stretch out the shoulders a little bit. Walk your hands forward onto your fingertips. Have your hips in line with your knees. And then we start with tucking the tailbone in and think of lifting the sternum up, rounding the spine. So this is an active position. Even if we're in that rounded spine, energetically think of pulling the armpits to the ground, but nothing is actually moving. Then look forward in between the hands, let the chest sink to the floor, arch the spine, lift tailbone up to the ceiling. Keep the shoulders where they are, tuck the tailbone back in. Hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then slowly, slowly make your way out. I'm just going to check if I actually pressed the record button. I did. Just wanted to make sure. I'm not going to edit this out. Okay, so that was the warm-up. Depending on your wrists, especially if you're ready to work on your one arms, you probably know how your wrists feel, how much warm-up they need. If you need a little bit longer, feel free to do so. That brings me to the whole session. So I'm going to do all the drills with you, but you might not be able to do it in the first place, or you fall out, or you need to accumulate the reps. So feel free whenever you need to complete whatever we're doing, just press stop and you finish your set and then you press play again so we can continue. I take you through quite a lot of theory, so it's not super big amount of drills, but I want you to understand why we do the things we do. It's a lot of people when they want to one arm, same as when you start learning to two arm, you just try to kick up and you think at some point you can hold a two arm handstand, which is most of the time not the case, especially as an adult. Same with one arm handstands. There's a lot of nuance, especially at the beginning, so we want to build a strong foundation. So we are not going to lift our hand off the ground today because most likely you will not be able to hold it. 100% you won't be able to hold it. So we want to build that strong base, making sure your body understands where it needs to be and why it needs to be in that position, and then you can build on that. I hope that makes sense. So again, if you ever need to stop, finish and complete your rounds or your sets, and then we continue and you continue with me until we finish the class. So first, we're just going to do a bit of a warm-up. A two-arm warm-up, I do that as well in my session. That's basically my warm-up actually that we're doing. Just getting brain, hand, body connection and getting that two-arm balance in before we actually get into one arms. So we're going to do one round of a 60-second handstand. Again, I'm basing this class on the level I explained before you should have if you are thinking of learning to one arm. But if you're doing this class and you're not there yet, it's completely fine. If you can't hold a full 60 seconds, that's all right. You can also always do a chest to wall rather than a handstand in the middle of the room. So let's get started. I've got my watch here as well. So we are doing the 60 seconds now. Place your hands on the floor, find a spot where it's actually even, and then we are gonna kick up and hold. I leave it a bit up to you if you want to find your straightest position with toes pointed, tailbone tucked in, ribs in, or if you prefer to actually be a bit more relaxed. Sometimes it's funny to play with that as well. So you're relaxing your toes, you're relaxing your thighs, your pelvis, and then you can go into a fully straight, nice line again. We're gonna have a few more seconds. Feel the connection to the ground. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then make your way down. Beautiful, good job. Shake out your hands a little bit. Oftentimes, as well, or when I teach a class, we combine handstands with some mobility drills. Feel free to add something if you want to open up your straddle a bit, do some pancake work. But to keep it focused and concise, we're going to work on, or we're going to focus on just handstands today and one arms. But again, if you need a break, have a sip of water, and then come back. Cool. Then we're going to go into some transitions. We will accumulate 10 reps straight to straddle. Then we're going to do 10 reps straddle to tuck. And we're going to do 10 reps straight to tuck. It's more so, doesn't need to be that perfect tuck and that perfect straddle. It's more so to open up the hips, to warm up the hips basically. So let's do the 10 reps straight to straddle together, and then we come down, and then we continue with the other transitions. Let me do it from this side. So you see all the angles. You can jump up into your straddle or straight however you want. You can kick up. I often, whenever I do actually straddle stuff, I straddle up. That was more so of a press. And then I go to my straight. And then we start 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we come down. Maybe you accumulate 3, or you do 3, have a little break, do another 4, and then another 3. Or you just do what I just did, the 10 in, 1, go. And then we will continue with straddle to tuck. I'm going to show you that from the side. So from a straight to tuck, straddle to tuck. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect, but you can think a little bit of an anterior tilt in the straddle is fine, then a bit of a posterior tilt in the tuck. So you're getting used to doing that. And also from the straddle to the tuck, opening the shoulders, pushing the shoulders a little bit more into that elevation and flex position, just to get used to the push already. Gotta go a little bit further away from the wall. Gonna start in the straddle, getting into the tuck. Straddle. You see I stick my butt out a little bit and then I pull it back in. Butt out and in. I think 5, 6, shoulders push more in the tuck. 9 and 10. Sometimes when I do it in my training, I actually do it fast, just to get a little bit more blood flow into my hips. I don't focus too much, again, on the perfect alignment, just repping it out. And then feeling how your hips are doing the work. And in my training, I do it all together. So I do 10 straight to straddle, straight away into 10 straddle to tuck, and then straight away into straight to tuck. So you could try that as well. Then let's do the straight to tuck together. Probably the hardest transition, I would say, out of all of them. Especially a lot of people struggle going from tuck to straight. Going down, because you go with gravity, is a bit easier, but the moment you go back up, you're going to make sure you're bringing the hips in and the legs travel straight up, so the legs don't shoot over or going more so into that pikey position, into underbalance. We're going to do 10 as well. Same as before, whenever I work on tuck, I actually tuck up. But again, I leave that up to you. So we go 1, 2, as well. Here, try to elevate more. 3, as you go into the tuck. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Beautiful. Take a few breaths. I need to breathe as well, especially while I talk. So we did our warm-up in straight. We did our shapes, our transitions. So all the prerequisites I mentioned at the very beginning, we basically go through, apart from the press. We're not going to press today. So the next one will be tuck handstand. So with the tuck, I know you might not be there yet, but I'll give you different options. You can do a tuck on the wall, chest facing the wall, I recommend. And then it's more so, you can see it as a conditioning drill rather than a balancing drill. So you're not trying to balance off the wall, but you really want to focus on that ideal tuck position. Meaning, you tuck the tailbone in, you try to flex around your spine. Then you elevate the shoulders. The more you elevate the shoulders, the more you will be able to flex the shoulders without doing that. So we want to try to keep the sternum in. So you see, if I stand here and I keep the shoulders down, that's where I can go. If I elevate the shoulders, I can bring the shoulders way more back. But now obviously you've got your whole body weight on your shoulders, so it's going to be hard to elevate, but that's why we focus on tuck. So, but you can work on that on the wall. You can do that obviously in the middle of the room, and now we've got two options. You look down to the ground. Looking down to the ground, always the easier option. Our vestibular system wants to have a focus point, and the fluid in our ears is not moving as you look down. But then eventually you want to do a deep tuck with chin to chest, head position 3. If you do that, it works even a little bit more on your mid traps, making them a little bit stronger. But also it could actually help with opening up the shoulders a little bit more. But again, balance-wise makes it a lot harder. So whatever works for you today, on the wall, a tuck, look onto the ground, or chin to chest, so you look towards your knees basically. We're going to hold 10 to 15 seconds. I probably won't speak too much because the moment I do chin to chest, I just can't talk. So yeah, give it a go, 10, 15 seconds, whichever position you would like to try today. I'm going to kick up as well, and then we're going to start our timer. Any depth that works for you. Let's hold a few more seconds. Tuck tailbone in, shoulders stay in line, keep the elevation. Once I'm here, I can actually speak. Beautiful. We only do one round today. Ideally, or not ideally, but if you still struggling with tuck, feel free to add another round or two. So going into 3 rounds. I wanted to say something else. Yeah, I added that before, but make sure when you do the tuck in the middle of the room. So we do want to have the shoulders staying in line with the hands. If you go too low, there's 2 things that might happen. So either I So you come from straight, you come down. Either you're compensating by planche leaning. But we want to keep the shoulders over the wrists, but then maybe what happens is you're sticking your butt out. So you need to go a little bit higher, tucking the tailbone in, so you're not planche leaning or you're not sticking your butt out. Tailbone in, because this is a better tuck than this. I hope you could see the difference. So you might have to step back a little bit, making the tuck a little bit longer, but then your traps will actually doing the hard work. Amazing. Then let's go into the meat. So for one-arm handstands, we do need some sort of body awareness or proprioception and where your body is in space, that means. And so when you look at someone doing a one-arm handstand, you see they're shifting obviously to one side and then the pelvis comes over. So we need to understand where the pelvis needs to be. We're not doing a one-arm yet, so we're doing some side pelvic tilts, but it's not a flag. So don't think when you think of a flag, we want to go super, super low and want to touch the ground or whatever. It's more so understanding to tilting the pelvis, nothing else. So we're isolating that from side to side. This is not necessarily how we get into one arm or what you have to do in a one arm, but in the one arm, it helps you, especially at the beginning, having some correction. So you can use that as a corrective pattern. And as I said before, it's more so having the understanding of what we can do with our hips. So we're going to do that chest to wall. Eventually, you could do it in the middle of the room. If you have played with it in the middle of the room, feel free to do so. But if you do it in the middle of the room, very likely you're actually rotating without you even noticing. So we're going to do that on the wall because the wall is our reference. It also takes away the balance aspect. So we can really, really focus on just doing it correctly. What we want to focus on is the shoulders stay solid. So we keep the elevation. The shoulders do not move from side to side. The spine, if you look at my spine when I do it from the back, should be going straight, and then just where the lower back or the sacrum should just be tilting from side to side. Think of, and it doesn't need to be a big movement. It's a sort of a tick-tock from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. If I were to cover, so I'm going to be upside down, right? So if I were to cover from mid-back, my hips and my legs, and you would only see my shoulders and my arms, you should not see any movement. So you should not notice that something up there is actually moving. And it sounds simple, but it's actually not, especially if you have never done those. So that having the understanding of doing this. Oftentimes, what happens, you're shifting the weight rather than tilting, or you're going into the opposite direction. Think of obliques and QL slightly crunching at the same time. Oftentimes we're so used to doing that, so our obliques actually take over and our QL doesn't do anything. That's why rotation happens as well. So thinking of doing that. So don't do it yet. I'm going to show you the different, the correct one, and then the different errors that people often do. So it's a chest to wall straddle. A little bit of space so your legs can go down. So what we're going to do, so I'm elevating, then I'm going to side tilt. I'm not going to go super far. It's literally, let's go to 10 o'clock, back to center, reset here. 2 o'clock, back to center. So there's a slight crunch on the side, and then think the opposite side is relaxing. Now look at the difference. So I'm tilting here correctly. I'm bringing the hips over and down. What a lot of people do is either shifting the weight to one side first and then crunching because they think they can get more of a crunch out. Or they're actually shifting the weight to the side where I want to go and then I crunch. Sort of the opposite crunch. Why does that happen? I will get into that a little bit later. It's all about the alignment that we want to have in a one-arm handstand. But in the next drill, I will explain that, and I refer back to that. Did you see the difference? So one of them, the error ones, I shift the weight shift the weight to the side rather than from the center, tilting, tilting, tilting. Yeah, let's give it a try. Maybe film yourself. In general, filming is, if you don't have a coach, filming is your best tool, is your best judge. And then you can see if you're doing it right or wrong. Because I've worked with many, many people, and whenever I show this drill for them the first time, they don't know what they're doing. I tell them to do this, and they do the opposite, but then when I can actually grab them and put them into the right spot, they start understanding. So film yourself and see if your spine, when you do the tilts, is straight, and then it gently, slightly goes to the side, a slight curve to the side. Let's try to do 10 reps, so 5 reps per side. If you feel fairly savvy with it, you can go from one side to the other. Otherwise, I recommend you always, so you go to the side, you set in the straddle, and then down again. Reset in the straddle and down. So let's get that going. 5 and 5. So from one side to the other. Straddle the legs. Keep the elevation, so nothing should move from mid-back towards your hands. The movement only happens from the pelvis. We go from one side, 1, up, to the other side, 2, up, 3, up. Have as much weight, 4, as you need in the wall, 5, but you want to be as light as possible, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then come down. Beautiful. How did that feel? We're only going to do one round, but if you have the energy, if you want to practice again, go for another 2 rounds. So go for 3 rounds. So stop the video, and then you can continue once you've done the full 3 rounds, or how many rounds you feel comfortable and strong to do. But yeah, this is crucial to understand. If you don't understand how to tilt your pelvis properly, you will not understand, once we come to the next drill, where your pelvis needs to sit, what to do in the actual one-arm handstand. So don't skip this one. Do it on the wall. Eventually, if you feel comfortable, you can try in the middle of the room. Then again, film yourself and see how that's going. Cool. Then we're going to do fingertip holds. So when it comes to a one-arm handstand, what I mentioned before, just trying to lift the hand will not work. There's so many small details that need to be in place in order for balance to happen. In general, balance happens when the center of mass is over the supporting base. Our center of mass sits around here. The base of support is that one hand. So the center of mass needs to travel over the base of support. If the center of mass doesn't go over enough, you will always fall back into a 2-arm handstand. If you shift the center of mass too far over, then you're going to fall that way, like you sort of cartwheel out. Hence why it's important, where is your hip in space? So the alignment should be hand, shoulder. So if, let's say, we do this. Obviously, I can't get into that position. But hand, shoulder, and my opposite glute should be in line. That happens not necessarily by me flagging. It happens through the elevation of this shoulder. As we elevate the shoulder, our scapula, especially in a 1-arm, can squeeze out a little bit more elevation than in a 2-arm. Our scapula will go into upward rotation, so the shoulder blade will be able to do, if you look at that shoulder blade, to do this. That's an upward rotation. I elevate, then I push more. It's sort of doing that, and that gives me that extra push. Now also often what happens, so I said hand and shoulder should be in line. When you shift the weight, that shoulder is leaning out. Very, very normal. So what you got to do is pushing the shoulder back in and then up, as I said before. So in, elevate, up. And that will then create room to get the hips over enough. If there's not enough elevation, either, again, you fall back to center because the hip is not over enough, or you will have to flag. But you're still in that dropped position, which doesn't give you stability then to actually balance and to hold the one arm. So we want to, through that elevation, through that push, we want to get hips over. So sort of opposite glute, or you can as well, sort of the crack of your butt. That at least that part should be over the shoulder. If we go onto 5 fingers, often what happens, especially if you go even onto 2 fingers or 1 finger, this shoulder here, the supporting shoulder, lifts as well, because it's very normal to do so. If we do that, to do this. So if you go from flat hands on the floor, you lift and the shoulder lifts up. You want to make sure that that shoulder is staying down as well. On the fingertips, it's not as important yet because there will still be quite a lot of weight in your fingers, of course. But once you actually get light on the fingers or you will lift, then this is crucial. The moment you lose this shoulder, you'll fall over. So you can use this shoulder as leverage to keep you balanced. So the progression is 5 fingers. Then we take the thumb off because the thumb is super strong. If you take the pinky off, it's basically still 5 fingers. And sometimes the pinky is not even on the floor anyways because it's short. So 5 fingers, 4 fingers, then 3 fingers. Often the ring finger doesn't do much anyways. We go on to 2 fingers, then 1 finger, and that 1 finger is usually getting very, very strong at first. So there's so much weight in that index finger. Eventually you want to get onto literally sort of the fingernail or the fingertip, and then we do some dial the phone before we lift the hands. But we're not going to go there yet, just for you in the future. That's the progression. But every step here, you want to be solid before you progress to the next one. Because if you go too early, you're just wasting time. Talking about wasting time, I'm talking a lot. So let's get into some movement. But a bit of a break was fine because we did already quite a lot of work. So we're going to do fingertip holds on the wall, because again, it's an introduction. Eventually, you can do it in the middle of the room, but the wall will keep you honest. It's all about understanding where you're in space rather than now balancing. So we're going to shift the weight, pushing the shoulders up and in, getting the weight onto 5 fingers. So let me demonstrate quickly, and then we're going to do it together. We're in the straddle. Then I'm not actually doing that tilt that we did before. The tilt is just to understand where your hip is in space. We're going to shift the weight. And you see my shoulders, my shoulder might lean a bit to the side. It's okay. But then as I push and get into my fingers, I push that shoulder in and up. And then hopefully you see my hand, my shoulder, and sort of the crack of my butt or the opposite hip on top of each other. And then stay on 5 fingers, maybe be a little bit lighter in the toes. Eventually, thumb off, 3 fingers. And I need to push more because otherwise I fall. 2 fingers, 1 finger. Don't do that now. We're going to do it together in a moment. But again, don't rush it. Feel solid on 5 fingers first. We will be doing 10 seconds each side. But let's come down in between each side. So especially at the beginning, even we're doing one arm and then the other arm, so one arm has a bit of a rest, but that little bit of a rest in between the sides will give you a little bit more energy back rather than just going from one side to the other. You will have a good side, you will have a bad side. My good side is my right. My really bad side is my left. It's also currently injured, but it's all right. It works, my elbow. So yeah, one side might feel super strong, the other one might still be behind, and that's okay. My recommendation is still you always work the same amount of volume on both sides. even though one side might be more advanced. On one side you might be able eventually to do 2 fingers, 1 finger. On the other side you still need to do 5 fingers, and that's okay as long as you get in the reps and the sets. Okay, let's do that together. Coming into your straddle on the wall. Up to you where you want to go first, left or right. Let me go to the left this time. So shifting the weight towards that hand. Then push tall into elevation that gets you onto 5 fingers. And that should get you as well the hip over. Push the shoulder in rather than the head to your shoulder. But think of pulling the shoulder to your cheek. I didn't count, but let's stay for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back into straddle and come down. That reminded me, so I didn't say that before. Often what people do is bringing the cheek to their shoulder rather than their shoulder to the cheek. So pay attention to that next time. How did that go? Maybe you were not able yet to get onto 5 fingers. It's okay. Give it a go or give it a few more tries. Work more on your tuck, maybe work on your press again. If you have a press, you have that little bit more strength in that push. Let's do the other side. Get ready into your straddle. Then shift weight. Push through that shoulder, get onto your fingertips. And hold. Shoulder pulls in. And up, pushes up. Try to stay light on the wall. Hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to center and come down. Great. Also here, I would say we will continue with the next drill, which is basically also already our last drill though. But do another 3 to 4 rounds. So ideally with this, like this should be the main chunk of your session currently. If you can get in 3 to 5 rounds, that would be great. Working towards 15 seconds. So if the moment you have 15 pretty solid seconds, then you can lift the thumb and getting lighter and lighter on less and less fingers. But get the 15 seconds in first. Also film yourself again. Is the shoulder over? So is the shoulder and the hip in line? Maybe just quickly before we go to the last part, I'm going to show you as well how some people get in with a flag. I wouldn't recommend, because then you're flagging over, and as you push into the shoulder, you need to pull the hips back, because otherwise you're too far over. And if you flag, you actually can be a little bit more in a depressed scapula, so in the shoulder dropping. But we do want to work on that elevation. So some people do this. They confuse the drill we did before, so you flag, and then I lift over. But you see my scapula is super dropped. If I want to push the scap up, I need to bring the hips back again. So it can't be super far over, because the center of mass would be away from the hand. That's why I need to depress the scapula. Maybe a little bit too much information, but as I have the time to have a little bit of a break, but I just want to make sure you understand why we do the things, we do them, whatever. Cool. So 3 to 5 rounds. So feel free to press stop and continue to do them. Then we need, I hope you have it, a yoga block or a handstand block. I currently don't have a handstand block here, but a yoga block will do the job as well, even though it's actually higher than one of the cubes, the handstand cubes. So the higher, the harder. This is more so to work on your pushing strength, because we're now going from a deficit in depression into our full elevation. Don't don't think too much of your line with this one now in terms of shoulder, hand, and hip. Yeah, we want to, but the main focus is just building pushing strength. So whatever gets you up and over and getting into that elevation, that is correct. We still want to be in a straddle. Makes it a little bit easier. In general, coming back, we're doing straddle one arms first, because in a straddle one arm, same as in a two-arm handstand basically, it gives you more levers to do some corrections, and the center of mass is lower, because a straight one-arm handstand is next level. So we're working on that straddle. So ideally you have a nice straddle. If you have tight hips, it could be a little bit trickier as well, as you can't let your legs flare out to the side nicely. So if you're tighter, if you don't understand yet what to do with your pelvis, might be worth it as well, working a little bit on your mobility alongside your handstands and getting a good straddle handstand. So, coming to this, you're gonna go chest to wall again. Then I just show you first. Don't need to get into it yet. Straddle. So you see this, my right shoulder here is in a deficit now. Then I'm needing to shifting the weight big time, even if you need a bit of flag. And then I push really tall. You might still be on 5 fingers. If you push really tall, you might be able to get onto 1 or 2 fingers. And then we're gonna come down again. And we're gonna shift weight. I'm in that depressed cap. And then I go really, really high. And I go down again. So it's all about shifting weight, pushing super tall, and dropping again. We will do 5 reps, and then hold 10 seconds on the last rep. It's intense, but it just makes you strong. So we're finishing the session, the follow along class very soon. So this is the last drill. So give it all. No holding back. I'm gonna do my left now. My right has worked quite a lot. So grab your block or your handstand cube, get into your position, 5 reps and 10 seconds on the very last rep in that elevated position. So get that block under your hand, get into that handstand position, straddle legs, and then shift weight, push as tall as you can, and then we're gonna come back down. Shift weight, hips over, shoulder in and up, and down. And again, lean, push, up, down. 2 more. Shift and up. Last one. Once you're up, we're gonna hold. Lift up, push tall, shoulder in. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and come down. Whew. Shake out your arms, your shoulders. I know, not an easy one. Have a little bit more of a rest. Gonna do one more on the other side. How are you feeling? Hope forearms, shoulders still have a little bit of energy. Doesn't need to be much more anymore. Unless you wanna do more rounds of these, which I recommend. Okay, let's do this. Other side. So get the block ready. Straddle your legs, shift weight, push tall, push up and down. Shift weight, elevate shoulders, push shoulder in and down. And 3, down, and 4, down. Last one, and you know what's coming? Hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and come down. Cartwheel out. Whew. And the bulk work is done. Okay, amazing. So with this one as well, feel free to do 3 rounds. If you have time, continue. Even if you can only do, let's say, 3 reps and then hold the 10 seconds, or you skip the 10 seconds, just getting stronger there. Perfect. So this was basically the introduction to your one-arm handstands. I'm gonna quickly repeat for you. We started with a straight handstand, 1 minute. Then we did 10 reps of straight to straddle. We did 10 reps straddle to tuck. We did 10 reps straight to tuck. Then we did 15 seconds of tuck, whatever variation that was, on the wall, middle of the room, looking to the ground, look up to your knees for head position 3. Then we started with the actual one-arm work, which was the side tilts on the wall, making sure that the spine is straight and just does this nice little curve at the top or at the bottom, however you want to see it. Then we did the fingertip holds, 5 fingers, and then you can release the thumb going up to 2 and 1 finger. And eventually you can obviously do that in the middle of the room. And then we finished with the cube or the block pushes, making you super strong in the shoulders. In my app lineup, I have this whole session as a program. So you don't need to do the follow along, but you have all the drills there. And now that you listen to my whole spiel about everything, you should understand why we're doing the things we were doing or you are going to do throughout the program. So check that out and you can just follow that structure. And there's different progressions obviously after that. Once you get stronger, once you have more proprioception, where you know where your body is in space, all these can be done in the middle of the room. Eventually getting super light on that finger, doing some finger lifts, and then we take the hand off the floor. In terms of timeline, give yourself at least 3 to 5 years till you have maybe a first 10-second one-arm straddle handstand. This obviously depends on your background, on your talent, but also how much you train. Ideally you train it 5 to 6 times a week, and the reason is it's a skill. If you work on a skill, repetition is key. You'd rather do 5 shorter sessions a week than 1 2-hour session. Same as when you want to learn to play a new instrument. Doing regular sessions every single day will be a lot more beneficial than just one big session. So yeah, that is basically it. I hope you enjoyed this session and let me know how you go, and also continue. Film yourself and keep working on it. You will see progress for sure if you follow the structure, if you don't rush it, have your brain, your body understand where you need to be in space, and then obviously building the strength alongside. And eventually you will see progress. So yeah, thank you so much for your attention and for practicing with me, and see you soon.